And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Social Edge channel. I'm your host, Philip Georgeson, and it's very simple to state our goal. It's the same we had last week. It's to show you how to move from living life on the edge to living a cutting-edge life. Joining me on the panel tonight are the leaders responsible for early momentum and success of Global Hangout. They contribute with another group of leaders as well to bring us Team Revolution. And they are, of course, Fred Dudley and Ralph Labby. Good evening, Fred. Hi, Ralph. Fred, I wanted to actually start with you, if I may. And, these weeks go by faster and faster, and people are immersed in a lot of things that are going on. Of course, HubbaT now fully engaged in its new brand and so forth. I thought I'd start with you with some opening comments to see what's been happening out there in the field and give us up to date in any other housekeeping matters you feel appropriate to bring about.
Well, thank you so much, Phil. I appreciate that. I appreciate being on the call and being able to share some inside situations that may exist. And again, there is a lot of talk out there and a lot of buzz in the industry. And basically all I want to do is, folks, share with you one little concept that I found to be pretty powerful with respect to HubbaT. Now, as you all know, HubbaT has the ability to have 9 different conversations from all over the world simultaneously for free. And I think most of us really don't understand the impact of the word free. And if you just think about for half a second all the people across America who are constantly using calling cards to make phone calls back to their friends and family in the Philippines and in Mexico and in Africa and abroad, and here they can do it entirely for free, I think that we have to use the power of that mechanism alone and at least just ask the people that are in your contact list. For instance, just go right down the list that's in your contact list and find out if the people that you're connected to, how they're communicating with people internationally. And I think that you're going to find out, folks, there are a great many people that pay even a subscriber fee with Skype, and here they can do it absolutely for free. So what I would suggest is just a one-liner to people that you know, not trying to sell them anything, but basically just ask them, are they paying to connect with people that they're connected to internationally? And Phil, that's really all I want to just kind of share. I've gotten a lot of traction on that over the last couple of days. I just sent that out to a handful of people, and the response is amazing. People just don't know.
That was that video that you put together real quick where you're sitting in the chair kind of talking about linking up people from one end of the world to the next, right?
Yes, and 13 people have basically come up to speed over the last couple of days. And in fact, I just spoke to a pastor today who's connected to a spiritual individual that has the world's largest church.
Wow. And
they're doing their due diligence right now. And Phil, they may be coming on board within the next 48 to 72 hours.
And it's a great tactic, and I've watched the video twice now, and I'm really impressed with your approach and how you develop it, because it does leave you wanting to know more information. So for that, I thank you. It's great, and we will get that out so more people can see that, and we'll get it distributed. Ralph, over to you. I know you've had a very busy week, a lot going on, so share with us, if you would, some of the highlights of your week, sir.
Well, thanks, Phil. Appreciate that. As you know, I work hand in hand, not hand in head, but hand in hand with Fred, particularly as it relates to the churches. But actually, what I wanted to do was piggyback on what Fred was saying, and I actually have some stats on this, and this is really just going to really drive his point home in a different way. It says about 65% of the U.S. population will have a smartphone and or tablet in 2015. And of those individuals, it says 86% of those users will use video on those devices in 2015. And that's from a research firm called Instat. And when you think about that and what Fred just said, once people understand the technology that's available to them and the fact that it's free and available and they don't necessarily have to be paying these fees, it makes a company like HubbaT so much more attractive because the cost of doing business just goes through the floor. and their learning curve or their potential to put into use the tools of the trade, if you will, for their benefit just literally goes through the other end, through the roof. And so I am excited in terms of where we are at with HubbaT and the fact that we're really beginning to move things forward, and I think the future truly looks bright.
That's awesome, and some great points and some awesome stats. And it is true, a lot of follow-through. Video just keeps getting hotter and hotter, and there's no end in sight. These messages are now getting easier to put up. There was a time, actually, the Internet originally, its infrastructure is not at all constructed to handle videos. A lot of, as you know, anybody that's rendered a video understands that, especially when you go to upload it. And yet it's fueling the dynamics of messages out there on the Internet. Now, we'd like to move real quick, if I may, here to some questions of the week before we get to our special guest. We did have some come through, and I'm going to ask our panelists to, I'll kind of go back and forth here. But first, Fred, I wanted to ask you this because, again, at the top of the program, I mentioned about how HubbaT now is in full tilt boogie with its new branding and so forth, away from the Global Hangout brand. How does one right now, as the transition is complete and we're moving into it, how do they actually address the name change? What's the best answer for somebody that might ask why the brand change took place?
Well, Phil, I think the easiest way to interpret the name change is this. Global Hangout, which was a great name, but I think it was too closely related to Google or, the Global Hangout there. And what we are is we are a educational and resource environment that's going to help people grow not only with Global Hangout, Google Plus, but also with LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. And as the company expands, we're going to have different resources and training that will be simple and easy for folks to get. The courses that we have in our back office are, basically 2-3 minutes, and they're short, they're concise, and that's really what it is, folks. We didn't want to be too closely connected to Google.
Good, excellent. Yeah, that I agree. I think that it gives the company a little more individuality, as we like to separate it out just a little bit, and it does broaden the reach for all of social media. So, good point there. Ralph, another question came in. How do we help people understand the value of the training? In other words, again, one of the questions I think you've had, and we've talked about this before, and this came up with one of my prospects this week, is I think there's kind of a misconception out there that people are thinking that there's a platform that they get with this $99 versus a training resource, as Fred just alluded. What's the best way to handle a question like that when it comes up?
Well, Phil, there's an old saying, and if anyone of the other panelists here tonight want to help me get this right, but you can either teach a man to fish or you can feed him a fish. And the difference between that is one is he gets a skill that lasts him a lifetime, and the other is he gets a meal that lasts him only a few minutes. And this platform, even though that's not perhaps the best word or the right word, but this opportunity, HubbaT, gives us the tools, if you will, to learn how to fish, to learn social media through one portal, come into the back office here, go into the Learning Lounge, and find the tools and learn the trade so that you can be more effective in your communication online in social media. So I think that's perhaps the short version of what the point I'm trying to get home is the fact that learning to do what you want to do anyway is more important than just being given push-button opportunity because technology constantly evolves and you constantly need to be on the cutting edge. And as you know, Phil, that's part of the reason we have gone the direction with this call that we have. We want to keep people on the cutting edge, keep them moving where they need to be.
Excellent. Yeah, and if I may just add to that just a little bit, I'm often asked a question like this too, and somebody says, "Well, gee, I can get all that free on the internet, Fred, just like you found with somebody that had made the association with Skype." And what I like to do is tell people, well, okay, if you can get that free, are you doing it? Are you executing it? Are you taking action to actually go and use the resource as HubbaT would teach you? And 100% of the time, they've got to say no because they're just not. And I'll often go on and say, you could actually learn Spanish for free on the internet. You can go out there and pull resources together and you could teach yourself Spanish. But do you do it? No. Instead, you'll go pay $400 or $500 for Rosetta Stone because why? They put together a system. And that's the difference. We have a learning resource here, a back office dashboard that'll have the tutorials for you that will pull this down so it makes sense and effectively use it across your broad channels of social media. So I think that that's very much a key that you need to take away tonight about that particular, call it an objection, because that's probably the best way to categorize how somebody is reacting to this. They think they want a tool or a widget. If that was there, we'd have to charge monthly to maintain that. We don't. We teach how to use the tools and resources that are out there, and as Fred points out, that are free. And it's a big, big difference. So I hope that some of you note takers out there are jotting down a few ideas because some of what Ralph has said here is very pertinent and very important. Finally, we had another question come in, and it is the following. This was as an outgrowth from Saturday's training call. And it stated that HubbaT had a record-breaking day with new subscribers, and they opened it up. And so his question is, what is being used to get those results? What are they being sent or told that makes them join so quickly? Fred, I'm going to toss that one over to you. You've been here from the beginning, and you've had probably both ends of the spectrum, somebody who's been sitting on the fence post for 2 months, or somebody within 30 minutes or 10 minutes of talking says, sign me up, send the link. What do you find has been the tipping point and what gets them to action?
Well, Phil, one of the biggest things that I find personally that people are attracted to HubbaT is that most people do something for a living. And, whether it's Prime America or Prepaid Legal or one of the multi-level marketing companies, or if they're an engineer, or if they're in, manufacturing, or, folks do something. But everybody wants to make more income. And the fact that we can take a person, no matter what they do for a living, and assist them and giving them the tools to become much more profitable in the business that they're in is probably the greatest thing, because there's no conflict of interest here, none at all. Because everybody, the common denominator is everybody wants to make more money. And I think that's the thing. It's the tools, it's the education that we give a person to be able to be online and create their own broadcast channel or infomercial for the product that they, or service that they have in their business to generate more income. I think that's the key.
Thank you. That is very much a key. All right, so now to the time of the night where we like to bring in our special guest. And this week, another dynamo guest. I spoke with him a couple of nights ago. We were chatting a little bit. The great thing about bringing Johnny on this evening is he comes to us with a bit of a sales background in his experience. He's also been somebody that has been with the company since the very beginning. It's my pleasure to introduce Johnny Medina from Colorado. Johnny, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Phil. I'm honored to speak with you.
Thanks, as you should be. Oh, I'm just kidding. Anyway, I wanted to find out, and we spoke the other night. From the beginning, you have seen a lot of changes. You have weathered the ups and downs that typically go with a company moving as fast as HubbaT. What are some of the highlights that you have found? What has really drawn you in to say, wow, I really am in a right spot right now?
Well, first, let me say this. I'm humbled and honored that Ralph and Fred thought enough of me to invite me onto this call. So I just wanted to say that up front. But I think what I really liked and what I saw was the leadership that we have in place with the likes of Dan Taggart, Troy Curl, Bruce Spice, Jack, St. Arnaud. The direction, the vision that they have for the company, with the evolution into HubbaT, with the new videos, the training calls. I've seen the websites go from, vanilla to absolutely off the charts, 31 flavors. I mean, it's beautiful.
What about some of the things that didn't go well for you? What did you run into? What challenges did you find to be most difficult, and how did you get through those?
Well, I think like what you guys already discussed about why would I pay for something that I can get for free. I was taught that the terminology that I like to use is that HubbaT is controlled learning versus accidental learning, where you're not going to stumble around the internet having to find out how to create an HD video for your company. It's all in one location, one-stop shopping, if you will.
Did you, given your background in history and years in sales, what have you found to be the best starting point in introducing somebody to HubbaT? Would it be the actual use of the product in their own business to get them comfortable in a niche that they could use it in specifically? Or is it the opportunity? Or did you blend your introduction to include both?
I actually blended them, Phil. I spoke with restaurant owners, doctors, pretty much any. I have yet to find an occupation, like Fred was saying, that cannot use HubbaT. You have a restaurant that can showcase via video their restaurant, how the chefs are cooking, showing meals, preparing it in video, and you can actually feel like the owner when you go in there for dinner. And when I'm speaking with the owner about being a subscriber, I tell them that when it comes down to it, they know that people are going to ask them how they did it. So if they just check the mark that says affiliate, which is not going to cost them any more money, there's a good possibility that it can create an extra income for them. I have yet to have anybody say, no, I don't want any more income.
Johnny, thank you so much. I appreciate your input. Very, very valuable. As you all know, we will be posting this call within the next 48 hours onto the YouTube channel. You can find it on YouTube, the Social Edge channel. It's marked, it's up, and it's tagged and ready to go. You can use it as a reference, send it out as a link. Also, don't forget, every week during the week, should something come up and you have a question, write it down and email it to our email bank, the Social Edge channel @gmail.com. That's the Social Edge channel @gmail.com. And, of course, we accumulate them as we did this past week. We read them on here. We will answer them. And then we build an archive and a library of the stats and questions that we used and the responses to those questions. Before I wrap it up, I want to go over a couple of key points and takeaways that I hope you'll get from this. I want to go back to something you said, Ralph, as a key takeaway. I think it's important for everybody to know the huge, massive growth that's happening here. Ralph, correct me if I'm wrong. You mentioned something that right now we've got approximately 65% of the population have mobile phones. And by 2015, 86% will use video in a mobile application. Was I correct in that?
Exactly correct. Yeah.
That's huge, and I think that's something really to cite to people, especially the mobile aspects of it, in being able to do that. Also, a point that Fred brought out in the very open, I think this is really key, that the cost of doing business using the tactics and procedures used in HubbaT will significantly lower the cost of doing business. If you look and compare for cost, as he mentioned in Skype, or even webinar services and so forth, those monthly bills that you have to use and or have to have in place on a consistent basis, whether you're using that tool or not, well, those get tossed out the door when you apply the resources taught in HubbaT, and I think that is huge. And then finally, the fact is, and a point that we bannered about a little bit here, and even our guest Johnny had alluded to, is that we're able to broaden the scope of your broadcast or network, if you will, in social media using HubbaT resources. So those are three key takeaways that I hope you'll write down and use as you introduce and share HubbaT to those that you have on your prospect list. Wrapping it up real quick, Fred, any final words or thoughts, sir?
No, basically, I want to tell everybody that's out there right now, you're listening to the station because you want to improve something in your life. Activity generates action. You need to take action, folks. So many people get involved in the business and they don't take action. Start with something. Start emailing folks that you know. Start asking questions. Don't try and sell the product and service, the people that you know. Simply ask them a question. And I think if you ask a person a question, they will give you an honest answer. So if a person is spending money to make international calls, well, you know what, folks? That is a hot lead. So that's basically what I want to share with everybody, Phil, is just get folks to take action and just stop waiting for someone to just fall out of the sky, go to your marketing site and sign up, because you know what? That doesn't really happen. You have to take action.
It is all about action. Ralph, over to you, sir.
Thanks, Phil. I just want to say I appreciate Johnny being on the call tonight. I think this has been an absolutely incredible call, very powerful, a lot of great information that has come forward. And this call, I think I just want to emphasize the fact that this is something we're doing every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I want to encourage people to make a habit of getting on this call and also sharing it with, as Fred Dudley likes to say, those whom they know, love, and trust. And, if you truly are looking to make a difference, it's all about being engaged, being involved, and, as Fred said, taking action. And this is part of that action step that I believe people should take.
Thanks again, Ralph. Thanks again, Fred. Thank you, Johnny Medina, as our guest. It's time to wrap it up. We'll see you again next Tuesday nights at 8:30 Eastern Time. And please get your questions in the Social Edge channel at gmail.com. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next week. So long, everybody.